What's up, everybody? Puck Mike here, back with another video, and back with episode 2 of The Puck Mike Show, connecting hockey cards to hockey news. Be sure to check out our playlist and podcast, The Puck Mike Show, a weekly show discussing the latest and greatest hockey card news, featuring key segments like Around the League, the top news stories around the world of hockey and their impact on the hockey card market, the Card Report, card-centric hockey card news, weekly pack breaks, and so much more. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me, and don't forget to check out my other channel at Cardzu Sports Cards, where I share my experience selling mostly low-end sports cards on eBay. All right, on today's show, we'll be going around the league, looking at the top news stories around the world of hockey and their impact on the hockey card market. We're going to do our first edition of Needle Movers, looking at last week's highest and lowest selling cards according to eBay's own Terapeak Insights tool. You're going to get your weekly dose of the Card Report, as I mentioned, with card-centric hobby news. This week's Player Spotlight will go around YouTube as well and see what's going on with hockey card channels around the world of YouTube. 22-23 Parkhurst was released last week, and so we got some channels breaking that box, of course. And, of course, we'll have to touch on Bedard Mania until the one-of-one gold outburst is pulled. And then Puck Mike's wish list. We're going to talk about cards I want to buy for my collection. All right, first up here, Around the League. What happened last week in the world of hockey, and did that or did that not impact card sales for these players? So Wayne Simmonds retired after 15 NHL seasons. I swear I had like a thought about him the other day, because I don't think he played it all this year. And I swear I was like, man, what happened to him? Whatever happened to him? I have those random thoughts of players that I'm like, oh, they retired. I didn't even know that. And then you see him on NHL Network before the game, like, that's where like everybody goes after they play, which, hey, I would do the same thing, right? But 15 NHL seasons. His retirement was announced on March 18th. And so what I want to do is look at card sales before the retirement here. So if we look at all cards from March 10th to March 17th, that's right before the retirement was announced. We have 11 total cards sold. Highest here is there's a $5 one here. Oh no, there's an $8 and classic Wayne Simmonds rookie CH All-Star. Oh, that one looks pretty cool. That's about an $8 one. So, but if we go to after the retirement was announced, this would actually be a good little test here, because I don't think he was a super popular player. At one point he was. I mean, he had 2 or 3 really good seasons. I think he mostly did his best work with the Flyers. But this will be a good test to see, like, if maybe a not so popular player, I mean, he's clearly not like a Connor McDavid or anything like that, after they retire, kind of what that news does for their cards. Okay, so 26 total sold and 5, 6, 7 days. I mean, that's the same time frame. That's 1 week before the retirement, and then 1 week after their retirement. They've more than doubled in hockey card sales, and the high now has gone from, let's see, before was $8. So one of these 0809, the cup, one of those sold. Let's see what that looks like. Wow, that's pretty cool. $1.99. So I mean, look, I don't. There's a huge correlation here. I don't think this is coincidence. People probably did the exact same thing that I did and said, I totally forgot about that guy. I got a bunch of his cards. I'm gonna sell them. Now's the time to do it. So yeah, I mean, I guess if you have Wayne Simmonds cards, go ahead and sell those. He's an 0809 Series 1. So you got Stamkos, Giroux, Turris, Drew Doughty. Who else is in that set here? Voracek, James Neal, Steve Mason, Pietrangelo, et cetera. So I looked at 0809 Series 1, and the sets are still selling for pretty, they're not cheap. It's still pretty high, unfortunately. So, I mean, if you want a Wayne Simmonds Young Guns or something, you might be better just to buy that one or buy one of his cards. So, pretty cool. So, yeah, if you got some of his cards, go ahead and list those. What else we got here? Next up, yeah, so this is kind of more sad news, and I was kind of debating showing card prices for this, because I don't want these two players to be, I don't want it to be sell your cards and cash in right now. I kind of want to look at card sales just to see if people are, I want to know if they're kind of getting the credit that they're due. So you probably heard Konstantin Koltsov and Chris Simon passed away. Both, I think, are apparent suicides. for the players. So Koltsov played with the Penguins for a few seasons, and one of those he did play some games with Crosby and Lemieux. I think it was the 05-06 season. So we'll start with him. He was only, I think, 42. If we look at March 10th to 17th, there's no sales there for any of his cards. But if we go March 18th, which is, I believe, after the news was announced, I do think we see some, if I remember correctly. Again, I'm not doing this to say sell your cards. I kind of just want to see, honestly, if you have the cards, it might be good to kind of hold on to. So yeah, he's got 18 now, and none of them sold before. And I looked at this briefly. There was a really awesome KHL card that I would be like, yeah, I think this is the one. I was like, man, this would be so cool to have in my collection. Yeah, this one is such an awesome card. And since it's KHL, I don't think it's upper deck. I can't see the back of it, but this is such a cool card. But yeah, unfortunate news there for him. And then the other one I mentioned was Chris Simon, same thing. And, if we look at him, and he played 18 NHL seasons. I remember when I was younger playing the NHL games, and he was one of the big enforcers on there. It's crazy. Got to get a sip out of my Penguins mug here. My Penguins who blew a 4-goal lead the other day. 18 seasons, March 10th to March 18th. Only one sold, and this is just capturing all sales. Again, this is eBay's Terapeak sourcing or Terapeak product insights. It's mostly accurate. You still have the same issues with some of the data in that there's other items that kind of show up here, but if I have it selected for trading card and singles, so in this case, it's clearly just one. It's pretty accurate. But if we jump, same with him, I think it was March 19th, actually, that it was almost like a day after Koltsov, which is kind of weird. 200, well, sorry, that was, got to go back to trading card singles. That's the one thing I don't know why. So 90 card, that's what, 1 to 9, and this makes me, again, I'm not doing this to say sell your cards. This actually makes me feel good because people are remembering, like, I really liked that player. They were really impactful. I wonder if he has any other, I don't know if he played in any other leagues, any other cards like that KHL one that Koltsov have. I don't know if he played in any other international leagues. But anyway, very sad news. So I wish their families the best there. This is, we'll change moods a little bit, I guess. So John Tortorella, coach of the Philadelphia Flyers. You guys know, if you've watched my other stuff, how I feel about Tortorella. I think the guy is psycho. His tactics are so, I don't understand. I don't understand his tactics at all. The funny thing about this is he just named Couturier the captain like a month ago, and now I'm noticing something that's wasn't there. That's on you, bro. Why don't you put yourself in the press box? He scratches him. I don't agree with it. When you put somebody in the lineup in his place, did they really bring that much of a more impact than he would? I just think the drama there is a little bit too much for me with Tortorella, but I want to look at card sales and see what happened with that. So March 19th was when the scratch happened. So if we look, let's go March 10th to March 16th. There's 27 cards. Actually, not too bad. He's been in the league for a while, so he's going to have a lot of cards out there, a lot of products. But if we jump March 17th, I think the news came March. I can't remember when the news was released. It was definitely after that. I think the first game was the 19th, but let's just go 17th to today. And he did get back into the lineup on the 23rd. So 23. Okay, so what was the other one again? We got 27. So actually kind of hurt him a little bit. So not much of a difference there. And I wouldn't even say it hurt him. That's just such a small variance. I don't think anything happened. So I think with him, yeah, that's interesting. Because I think with him, he's already got a ton of, like I said, products out there. He's been in a ton of sets. He's been in the league for a while. So I would have thought that would have maybe sparked a little bit of people thinking, oh yeah, let me unload some cards, but it seems to be pretty much the same there. So, all right, moving on to a new segment called Needle Movers, looking at last week's highest and lowest selling cards according to eBay's own Terapeak Insights tool, as I mentioned. So, this is just a quick search for hockey cards. Now, understand there is, because I've run reports out of eBay sales before using this hockey cards query and then running a query for specific players, and I found some cases where those specific players didn't show up in the query when I just did a basic search for hockey cards. But being this is kind of the insights tool, and I'm looking for hockey cards within the trading card singles section, I'm hoping it's a little bit more accurate. But even if it's not, we're still looking at some high dollar recent sales and getting our reaction to it. So there's still some valuable stuff in here. So 39,000, almost 40,000 total sold. So if we go to item sales, and let's sort, I think it's already actually sorted by item sales. So and I'm seeing a Sidney Crosby. Yep. So the highest one here, $24,544. Looks like a 0506 Sidney Crosby autograph patch. That is a the auto is a 10. Is everything else gets a 6? Is that right? Well, that's not very good. Of course, it's hard to tell in this picture. Man, that is a good-looking card right there. That auto is pretty good. 24,000. Can you only imagine? Yeah, it's only a 6, and that's sold for 24. Well, if you have a 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, I mean, if you had a 10, good Lord, I wonder what that would sell for. Wow, that's crazy. What's the other one's got here? Another Sid. This is what we got here. It's 05 SP Authentic Limited, another auto. Mint 10. Why this one only brought 13,000? That's interesting. Number to 100. Wow. Nana McDavid, of course. McDavid Gretzky, 1997. Let's take a look at that one. That looks pretty cool. Obviously, Sid. McDavid, Gretzky, those are the players like I talked about on last week's show. They're standing the test of time, so that one's really cool. Look at that. Is that from 1997? So even, I sell a lot of base cards of even Gretzky, $2, $3. So you get a lot of players like that. They, a lot of times any product, people are going to be searching for their cards, building sets, building collections. So, what else we got here? Bedard clear cut, Young Guns. I know these are selling for ridiculous amounts. 3,000. Okay, best offer accepted. Wait, $39.50. 3,000. Okay, I wonder if because you can never tell how much was actually paid when the best offer was accepted. This is 3,000 right here, and this is 3,950. So I wonder if you have Terapeak's Insights sourcing tool, you can actually see how much the offer was accepted. 3,000. I wonder if that's true. If that is, we're going to be using that a lot more. What else would that be, right? That would be a huge discrepancy. That's pretty awesome. I literally just discovered that. All right, and then let's look at the lowest stuff in this segment, first time segment of Needle Movers, looking at last week's highest and lowest selling cards according to eBay's own Terapeak Insights tool. So I feel terrible though, because this happened to me before. These ones that have 1 cent right here. I honestly have very much shied away from doing auctions. The card I talk about like all the time that I had a huge return I bought for like $7 or something and sold for 170 was the Tage Thompson Young Guns. I did do an auction on that. But I've had cases where I've done auctions and they just don't go, so it is a big risk, to do it. And this is a clear case of why, although, Artemi Panarin, this is a PC though. See, I wouldn't have done this as an auction. This is just a basic insert. In 0304, I just bought a hockey card collection that has a few of these. I wouldn't put this up as an auction. People aren't going to be running after that or bidding that up at all. Same thing with now McDavid though. There's just so many of these. Probably are like I think I have it's not this one. It's the season's best I think insert, but. Yeah, I wouldn't put any cards like these up for auction, honestly. All these ones, 1 cent, 1 cent. This one looks. Is this a John LeClair Future Watch? That's a clear cut. That was pretty cool. I do have a John LeClair auto on a graded SGC 10 on my store. But yeah, so wow, that's pretty interesting. A lot of 1 cents. Need to get in on some of those. I did learn the other day too. There's a bunch of sniping tools. Tell me if you guys use one of those. Let me know in the comments. There's a bunch of sniping tools where you can kind of external products. You can kind of say, I want to pay this much for the card, and then like 5 seconds left, it'll like put your price in as a bid. But I mean, other people are doing that too. So how does it decide who's first? So I haven't tried one of those yet. But so yeah, that was a new segment I wanted to do, looking at the high and low sales, and that's my first time reaction to him, so I thought that was pretty cool. So let's move on to our next segment called The Card Report. Lots of cool stuff happening this week in the world of hockey cards and just cards in general. A lot of this is card, not really hockey specific news, but will affect hockey cards for sure. Kevin O'Leary is a Shark Tank investor. And if you watch the show Shark Tank, pretty cool. Actually learn a lot of business stuff on there. He partnered with a company called Blowout Cards. Now, I cannot find a lot of information in terms of the specifics of the partnership. I'm assuming he's putting up some money and getting some a stake back, similar to like he does on Shark Tank. But there's a video out there on Instagram of him clearly at like a really nice country club, like opening a box of basketball cards, and but I can't find a lot in terms of what that partnership looks like. From what I can tell, from what my guess would be, is he's just investing in it. So I actually think that is kind of good for the hobby, though. Blowout Cards already, I think they're a really big card store, right? So they already have, I think, a well-established clientele, and so, but I think it's really good for the hobby to get that kind of recognition, even though that it's still tough with some of the little folks, like us. But yeah, that's pretty cool. And then what else we got here? CGC, which is a grading company, acquired JSA, which is an authentication service. And this comes after the news of PSA acquiring SGC. If you're confused by all of these letters, me too. But CGC, I was actually really surprised. They had more, there was more CGC hockey cards graded last year, or graded recently than I thought. I did a quick search on eBay, and a lot of people are selling graded cards from CGC. And so I was kind of surprised by that. They had a lot more market share than I thought. So in 2023, PSA held 78% of the market in grading cards, and it's going to be higher this year with the SGC acquisition. CGC was second on that list with 1.7 million items graded in 2023. So it'll be interesting to see where CGC falls this time or at the end of this year, with PSA acquiring SGC. And then, with CGC doing this, because you almost have to go for a different niche, right? Like, the whole thing with SGC was PSA takes really long, and we don't want to wait that long for our cards, and it can be expensive, and we want to have our cards graded but still have a company that still not lose a ton of resale value by grading with a certain company. SGC, I think, finally reached the point that they got a good reputation. They were still cheap. The turnaround time was definitely getting a little bit slow, but now that everybody knows that PSA acquired them, it kind of takes out that was everything the company was built on, right? Like, maybe that's just my perception of it as one customer in the market, but what I perceive happening is a lot of people saying, well, it's just PSA, so why would I even grade with them? I guess I'll just grade with PSA, which might be what PSA wants, right? Getting rid of one of your competitors. But it might open up other avenues in the market for people to try something else. I think at the end of the day, everybody always wants an alternative to the big dog, right? And so we'll see what happens, But more news on PSA is that they increased the price of their collector's cup Collectors Club membership from $99 to $149. So I mentioned this on last week's show. I was going to eventually, and I am going to eventually get, I think, one of their Collectors Club memberships that gets you access to Card Ladder, which is I talked about that on, I think, my other channel, my sports card channel. But so with that, I do think I think you still have to pay some of the grading fees. I'm not actually 100% sure what it all entails, but it's gone from $99 to $149. So if you were thinking about getting it, you might have missed out on the $99 one, but should still be a decent value. But keep an eye on that as the year progresses on, what's going to happen if people are going to flock to PSA, abandon SGC, stick with SGC, go to CGC. Beckett's still around. I mean, Beckett's fading terribly when it comes to grading. But yeah, so some interesting news there on the Card Report. All right, moving on to this week's Player Spotlight. This week we are talking about Mr. Zach Hyman. So there is an article out there by Sports Collectors Daily that basically the summary of the article is for someone who is a 50 goal scorer, which I believe he did reach 50 the other day over the weekend, his cards have tremendous value right now in terms of being able to afford some of those cards, And so I just wanted to spotlight him today. 2010, he was drafted 123rd overall by Florida, 5th round pick. That's crazy, 5th round pick. In the 2022-2023 season, so last season, he had 83 points in 79 games. This year he has, I think a lot of those were more assists than goals. This year he's got, at the time of writing this, was 46 goals, but I know he's reached 50 now, so he's reached that plateau. So Young Guns in 2022-2023, I want to see how this has affected his Young Gun sales. 2022-23 Young Gun sales was 109 total sales. But if you look at 2023-2024 season so far, he's actually, I want to look at this on here because when I did this, it did not include after the season started. I'm sorry, it did not include after he reached the 50 goal mark. And so let's just go October 1st to today, and we're going to look at his Young Guns, and we're going to see. I had 125, but I'm guessing that's going to be a lot more. Yeah, so 131. Okay, 6 more since he reached the 50 mark. So not that much, but so he's already on pace. He's already beat that, and we still got, what is this? April, May, June. When I measured, when I measured the 23 season, I went through June, I think, May or June. So he's obviously having a better year in terms of sales. If you have some of his cards, go ahead and buy them. And if you want to check out that link on sportscollectorsdaily.com about his rookie cards, it seems to be a pretty good value right now. He does a lot more in-depth research about Hyman and the value of his cards if you want to try to snag some of his cards as well. But, a lot of people say, everybody always says this too, like with players like this playing on a good team, a team with really good players like Connor McDavid, or he's playing with Draisaitl. People said this a lot with like Jake Gensel playing with Sidney Crosby. I was one of those people too. I didn't think he was that good. I mean, he's tearing it up right now with Carolina. Gensel is. Granted, he's playing with Sebastian Aho, who's pretty good too. But I mean, you also got to be skilled to play with those good players because a lot of times you don't know what they're doing. They're really fast. They're moving quick. They give and go, all that kind of stuff. So, I think the fact that he's doing what he's doing, is really awesome. And I think if you got the cards, go ahead and sell them. If you want to collect them, I think now's the time to stock up on those. So, really awesome. And I love seeing late round draft picks blooming because I always wonder, I'm like, how did people not? Did no one have this guy scouted higher? Like, did he just completely, like, everybody had him nowhere, and then the development just took off? I love seeing late draft picks bloom like that. So, all right, next up, we are going to go around YouTube and look at some of the card pulls this past week from hockey card channels around YouTube. So 2022-23 Parkhurst Champions was released this past week, as I mentioned in the intro, and a lot of channels are breaking some of those boxes. Of course, Ziri is opening some, and he had a decent Gretzky pool. I think he had like a 1/800 Gretzky, which was pretty awesome. And what else here? GP Sports Cards got a really nice Fleury throwback Fleury's car, I mean, his are going to stand the test of time for sure. Fleury, he's got, he's going to be a Hall of Fame goaltender. I've sold a decent amount of his. I think the ones I've had of his, I've sold some. But he also got a Seth Jarvis auto, which is pretty nice. And then Fulton cards. This might be the best one, actually. Mikko Rantanen auto patch numbered to 25. That was a really nice pull. And then I just saw this morning too. Twinning Collectibles got an Owen Power rookie auto out of the 22-23 Parkhurst box. So check out Parkhurst. If you don't know about Parkhurst, read up about their history. It's another one of those companies that, Upper Deck kind of swooped in and revived the brand, so to speak. But yeah, check it out. I don't know if I'll do, I'm not opening too much right now, but I would love to do some of that eventually. Maybe even I think they have blasters of those, but that's pretty cool. And then Leaf Metal was also released, the Leaf Metal product, and GP Sports Cards as well got a 1-of-1 card on there. I saw a few channels getting those. I think I was like, is this not really that rare or something, or are people just getting lucky, I guess? And then, of course, as I mentioned in the beginning, still no Connor Bedard 1-of-1. I want it to end. I want it all to end. I know I mentioned last week that it was going to be later in the distribution, but I did think it would have been by now, unless they put it in like the very last box that they produced or something. So yeah, maybe it'll be like 10 years from now and it finally shows up. That would be insane. But yeah, still nothing there. And then Ziri is doing started a case, part 3 of that. Did the video case, part 3 of Series 2, and didn't have many good pulls out of that one. So you think as many cards as he would open that, he would be the one to get it, right? But yeah, still nothing there. So that's a little bit around YouTube. Lots of cool stuff out there. People breaking some really cool boxes. So, and then next up, before we say goodbye, I want to talk about some cards that I want to get in my wish list, Puck Mike's wish list segment. Actually, just one card. So I don't actually have a big collection. I try not to get too attached to certain cards. I've had a lot in my collection that have kind of come through, and then I've sold them. Initially, the lines got a little bit blurred, and maybe this is you guys too. The lines got a little bit blurred with me when it came to just collecting and investing. And am I keeping this because I like it? Am I keeping this because I'm going to try to resell it? And honestly, that's part of why I started my Card Zoo Sports Cards channel, so I could share my experience, so I could kind of separate the investing and the collecting. So I don't like to get too much in depth with like investment stuff here and investment tips. I know we're looking at the card sale numbers on eBay, but yeah, so I don't keep a ton of cards in my collection. I try to cycle through a lot of them, but there is, and this is honestly all the cards that I would say are in my collection that are in my own little box are all of these right here. This is that Nylander Young Gun, or Nylander, let's see, numbered to 36 that he was on our player spotlight last week, having a pretty good run here with Columbus right now. I just think that's a really cool card. That's the thing about collecting players, that when they're not as popular too, you can get really cool cards like this and they're not as expensive. But I want to show you one card that I do want to get. It's actually just one card right now. Let's see. I think it's 23-24 artifacts, and it is the here it is. So 23-24 Upper Deck artifacts has an arena relic set, and they in the set, there's, what do we got here? I have the list right here. We have Trottier, Evgeny Malkin, Jaromir Jagr, Joe Mullen, Larry Murphy, Marc-Andre Fleury, Mario Lemieux, Mark Recchi, Paul Coffey, and Sidney Crosby. So 1, 2, 3. There's 10 cards in the set, and basically the relic is a piece of this seat from the old Civic Arena. So I grew up going to Penguins games. I went to football and Pirates and Cleveland baseball games and some Cleveland Cavaliers. But over the years, I love hockey more than the other sports. I don't follow the other ones, but I remember going to so many games at the old Civic Arena and I loved it. Just such a magical experience. Like, we used to sit really close to the ice. And so I just think these seat relics are really cool. I honestly want to get the entire set. Obviously, you can see the price tag here for Mullen is $75. You can only imagine what it would be for like a Crosby or Lemieux. I did see Lemieux out there, and it was sold, I believe. And so, yeah, unfortunately, there's probably not going to be a ton of supply of these, so I'm going to have to keep an eye out. Oh, yeah, this is a Larry Murphy one, 76. And, Sid, okay, yeah, Sid, $100. That's actually not as much as I thought it would go for. So, yeah, I'm going to have to really keep an eye on, let's see, Lemieux 106. Keep an eye for this. I really want to get the whole set. Oh, man, this one bid. This person got best offer. This person got a sweet deal right there. I'm going to have to really keep an eye out for these and kind of snipe these where I can get them. I want to get the whole set, honestly, and put it in a case. I think it'd be so cool. This one I do have an emotional attachment to because I remember being at so many games in that arena. Such a great experience. So, all right, guys, that is it for today's show. Thank you so much for watching The Puck Mike Show. Be sure to check out our Play Listen podcast, a weekly show discussing the latest and greatest hockey card news featuring key segments like Around the League, the top news stories around the world of hockey and their impact on the hockey card market, the Card Report, Card-Centric, hobby news, weekly pack breaks, and so much more. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me, guys, if you... and don't forget to check out my other channel at Cardzu Sports Cards as well, where I share my experience selling mostly low-end sports cards on eBay. Thank y'all so much for watching, and yeah, I'll check you later.